most of you know, these world so-called puppet leaders, because Boris is just a puppet. Of course, our Parliament is just a front for the Crown Corporation. They have a remembrancer sits in there. It sits next to the Speaker. There's been a remembrancer there for the past 360 years. He represents the Crown Corporation. And anything in our Parliament goes against what they want. The remembrancer just, you don't even have to get out of his chair. He taps the remembrancer on and says no. And nobody in our Parliament, the so-called elected people, will dare go against him. And the remembrance is unelected, because we don't have a democracy. We only have for a long, long time. It's just people don't know it. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, please, I mean, this is only going to reach so far. Unfortunately, I couldn't bring another speaker that's actually allowed in this, because people can't really hear more than this ring that's around me now. But please, as I say, the only way we're going to stop these lunatics, these 300 shareholders. I'll give you a quick history without boring you, how it's actually come about. Because it goes back in the history a long time, how these people got in control, these 300 shareholders. What happened was, in the 1600, a company was formed. It was called the British East India Company. They got a Queen's Charter from Elizabeth I. And by about 1620, there was growing opium in Kew Gardens. And that opium was exported to, when they perfected it, it was exported to India. And it was mass growing opium in India. That's why we had armies in India. And then later on in Afghanistan, it was to export the opium around the world. They made addicts out of the whole of China. And even now, even today, the ancestors, those 300 shareholders, they are still exporting the opium around the world. So the only people that really have this so-called drug enforcement on are the interlopers, the cartels that's homing in on their business. They're still running the opium around the world now. And that comes from former MI6, Dr. John Coleman, because MI6 intelligence run their operations for them, the deep state around the world. MI6 run their operations for them. So, and Dr. John Coleman also said in his 1991 book, Conspiracy of the Hierarchy, that he doesn't believe we can stop these people now, they're too powerful, but we can stop them by people being... But 1991, of course, the internet wasn't really available for people to find out information where it is now. But he said in 1991, what they do want... Now, just bear in mind here now, it is the cabal, these 300 shareholders, that are actually doing this, and they do want mass depopulation. And he said that, Dr. John Coleman, former MI6, in his book of 1991, he stated it many times since, that they want a figure between 500 million and 1 billion. And as he stated, half that figure, between 500 million and 1 billion, half the figure will be Japanese and Chinese, because they do what they're told without question. They will just do anything they're told. And they don't want to have anybody that... and he also said, when the culling starts, it'll be the Western nations that get killed first, because they're more likely to stop them. But I don't know if that Diego table's up now. I don't think it's up any longer. But Diego's run by the military arm of the CIA. I don't know if many of you have seen that table. But they sell military equipment, planes, hardware, tanks. And it was up, I haven't seen it a couple of months. Some it's been removed now, but it's been up for several years. It's actually been up since 2017, because that table was made in 2017. And even though you go onto their site, Diego, if it's still on there, I don't know if it is or not, at the very top left-hand corner there's a picture of a globe. You click onto that, you get 189 countries come up. And when you click onto all those countries, there's 3 columns on there. The first column is populations, second column is GDP, third column is military spend. And I've looked at all those 189 countries. Now it's only the 78 Western nations by 2025 that the populations and the GDP has fell off a cliff. Gone. It's gone. It was showing for Britain 66 million people in 2017. And the prediction for 2025, when you click on at the top for 2025, it's showing there's 14 million people here. So in 4 years' time, according to the military arm of the CIA, and the cabal created the CIA and MI6, according to them, there'll be 14 million people here in 2025. And the GDP has fell here by 95%. So nobody's working here in 4 years' time. That is their goal. That's what they're aiming for. Now, we have to stop them doing this, because we can. We can stop them by informing everybody what's happening. We have to do this. And like I say, We're only going to do that when we're going into their backyard and start naming them, calling them out. But anyway, I'll just go back into again how the history of it, how it started. Because how did you think to yourself, how did they get to ruling countries? But the British East India Company, we had armies all over the world, and I'm sure many of you know the British Empire was ruling a third of the globe. But it was all happened from the British East India Company. That's how it happened. Exporting opium around the world. Yes, they exported silks and teas and things such cotton things, but the main money earner was the opium. Those cutler ships were packed to the rafters in opium, and that's how they made the money. Now the shareholders of what was created back in the 1600s, the shareholders were our monarch, because she gave them the Queen's Charter as well, our monarch, the monarchs of Europe, so all the monarchs of Europe were all shareholders, many members of the House of Lords, not all of them, but quite a lot of members of the House of Lords, and 9 MPs. They were the shareholders of the British East India Company. But in 1874, they were publicly exposed in Britain. There was a massive outcry in Britain in 1874. So for 250 years, they've been running the drugs. But it then got out in Britain, and there was publicly exposed. And this country was very religious then, 1874. But they wasn't put on, they wasn't put on trial for the crimes, which they should have done. What they did was they just dissolved the name, the British East India Company. They had talks with many of the big industrial giants of the day, like DuPont, and some of the big bankers. The Rothschilds were already in on the action anyway with the British East India Company, but they brought other bankers in as well. And when they joined up with the big multinationals at the time, and some of the big industrial giant owners, it became 300 shareholders, and that's where we get it from today. 300 shareholders. The 300 shareholders are still controlling. So it went from 1874 of controlling a third of the globe to, because they never stopped, they just dissolved the name British East India Company. Then they called themselves a Round Table. They call themselves a Round Table. This is all from MI6 intelligence. They run their operations for them. And you can actually find this information in the history books about the British East India Company, because this is how they've done it. But now they're controlling every nation around the world. They're controlling every banking system, except for 3 countries. And now what they want now is they want depopulation on a massive scale. What they want is they call a small Earth. But yes, yeah, a small Earth as well. They want a small number of people here, and I've told you the figures they want already. But they're not going to get away with this, because we are going to stop them. We are going to stop them, and we're going to call them out in their own backyard, as we did on the 15th of May. So, folks, as I say, I'm not reaching them over there. Please don't go away. We're going with that group over there to the Crown Corporation. I'm going to see if we can reach some more people down there, because we need as many numbers in there as possible. Thank you for listening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.